This is On the Flywheel, a podcast where each week we talk to entrepreneurs and professionals about the practical things they do to build and keep momentum in their personal and professional lives. Hello and welcome to On the Flywheel episode 4. I'm your host, Jonathan Mart of Flywheel Consulting, and today our guest is Kyle Masterpole, another guest with a difficult last name that I had to make sure I got right. Welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you on. So we always like to start out with you explaining a little bit about yourself, your business, how you got to where you are today.
So I run Sonoma Marin Senior Fitness and the Bay Fitness, both Petaluma based, and we bring the equipment to the client.
Okay.
So whether it's a senior who just needs some bands and even a massage table because it's a wider table makes it more accessible for them to move around, or someone that needs a full gym with a squat rack up to literally 400 pounds, we've got you covered. We're going to bring it all for your session, set it all up, put you through your workout, and then once we're done, it's all gone. We take it back with us. So there's no more squat racks in someone's house that's a hat rack or has their coats and towels on it. They have that room to use it however.
I'm triggered right now.
You'd be surprised how many houses we go into and they're like, I don't have the space. And we just move a coffee table, and now we have a squat rack and a bench and kettlebells and dumbbells, and we have the whole shebang in there, and on just an 8x8 space is where we're fitting that.
Okay, cool.
And my background leading up to that is kind of a wide range. I've always been in the health and fitness industry. The only job that I've had that hasn't been in the health and fitness industry was Dairy Queen.
Okay.
Which was my first job in high school. Worked up to being a manager. It was actually more awesome than you would think. The owners were phenomenal. I got more raises at Dairy Queen than at any other job.
Really?
That's kind of a side note.
Yeah. I got to think, though, as a high school student, though, doing fast food jobs, especially if you're in a place where there's, like, other people kind of your age or it's kind of a fun environment. Like, I know lots of kids, high school and college, love working at In-N-Out. Like, it's just because of the camaraderie, and they treat them well.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, sorry, continue.
No, we're good. So, from Dairy Queen, moved up a little bit. So, worked at a few physical therapy clinics. I was a strength and conditioning coach at 3 universities. Most recently, Seton Hall University, and then Kutztown University, University of Tampa. So, I got to work with athletes of many different sports. I added up the teams at one point a few years back. I think like 50 different teams I've worked with.
Oh, wow.
A few thousand college athletes, and then high school and professional scattered in there. Also worked in a sports science lab. So all the things that you see in like Gatorade commercials, that is like they're hooked up to all this machinery. I got to work in one of those, and it all comes down to every detail matters, which is something that has really helped me in being able to work with a diverse range of clients, from youth athletes that are 11 years old up to professional, from the mom that's super busy and her hip hurts from always carrying a kid for 5, 6, even up to 15 years. I had someone with 5 kids, all under 15. And being able to go all the way to seniors and figure it out. I
think, so I want to jump into that a little bit because I think details matter. I think, so unpack that. I mean, how does that play out in your personal life and in your business?
So in my business, it's my background, especially working at universities, and a lot of people say, like, why work with seniors when you worked with athletes? That doesn't make any sense. But my career was go up to the basketball court, football field, whatever it is, watch practice, and be like, oh, this is how he or she changes direction. Let me get him down to the weight room. And I remember a soccer player goes, Coach, my groin hurts. It's like, it's killing me. Practices, games, it's not getting better, but I'm not coming out. So I was like, all right, let's go on the field. Let me put you through some drills. And how he had his feet set affected how his hips were set, which put all this pressure on his groin because how he set himself up to change direction, it wasn't efficient. He had to do so much movement that ended up hurting his hips compared to getting his feet in the right place that would use a different portion of his hips, be more powerful, be more efficient. So faster and easier versus a longer duration to change direction, and now his groin hurts. So, all right, here's how these mechanics were. Let's work on these mechanics here and slow it down. Let's go into the weight room now, and the muscles that I want firing a little more, we're going to emphasize those. We're going to do movements that emphasize how I want you to turn. So from ankle exercises to hips to even core, put all of that together. Now we're going to go back out onto the field, and we're going to redo these drills.
Interesting.
And over time, nothing happens within one session.
I was going to say, like, how do you rewire someone's brain to start running differently or changing direction differently? That's got to be difficult.
That's a great question, because whenever we are human beings, we are faulty, we make mistakes. We all have a dominant and non-dominant side. So first and foremost, everyone has differences between their dominant and non-dominant side, and it's my job to start to correct those because we overcompensate so much. When it comes to our athletes, especially college athletes who have their whole life played a sport, love it, they're dedicated to it, think of how many repetitions they've done of a given task on the field, on the court, and now they're going to spend an hour, up to 3 hours, but it's usually 1 to 2 hours a week with me. This isn't even here. They're going to keep doing that drill a million times compared to a few times a week with me. Mm-hmm. So I have to rewire them, and it's getting them to understand.
The whole 10,000 hours thing, right, that you have to now overcome.
So what I pride myself in is that I'm not just telling you to do the drill. We're breaking it down so that you know why. And it's pretty great. One of my favorite moments as a strength coach, it was with Seton Hall women's basketball. I was on the court for practice. There was one athlete that she had dedicated herself. Before practice, she's with me. After practice, she's with me. And they were scrimmaging on the court, and her footwork on defense just didn't hold up. I walked up to the court, and I just put my hands up. And she purposely runs across the court towards me and goes, "I know, Kyle," because she knew exactly what she did wrong. She knew she opened up her hips and used the wrong foot to go in one direction, and we never had to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because we had already talked about it. She had already put in the work, and she yelled at me because she's like, I don't need it. I know what I did wrong.
Yeah.
But that's what I pride myself on, that split-second moment. She knew exactly what she did wrong and essentially told me to shut up because we had been over it. She knew, and I'm there to guide her. But my clients ultimately know what they're doing wrong and how to fix it on their own, which their longevity, depends on that because I'm only with them for 1 to 2 hours a week.
Right. So how does that translate to your client base today in terms of details and helping them make adjustments? Like what kinds of things are they dealing with, and how are you helping them through that stuff now?
So I'll take the complete opposite of my collegiate athlete and go to my 85-year-old client who her knee hurts like crazy when she walks. So I'm like, okay, let's break this down. So I'm watching how she walks, and one leg kind of curves out, and that affects how her foot lands, which affects what's happening at her knee. So now I'm putting her through drills to get that foot to move a little straighter, but then I'm also doing exercises on the other side to strengthen not just the knee, but strengthen the ankle to get that to move the proper way, because she was pushing off her ankle in a weird way, and I needed to change that.
Yeah.
So all those little details of a basketball player on the court, that happens in a split second.
Right.
With all due respect, it slows down a little bit for seniors.
Yes.
So I actually have more time to assess, and it's easier to see. But that focus of I need every little movement to count in that split second has helped me in senior populations now. So you'd be like, all right, when you're doing stairs, what does it look like? When you're walking over something, what does it look like? How does your gait change?
Interesting. So I think that's really interesting because you're not actually a physical therapist, but what you're doing to me sounds like physical therapy. So where's that line? It seems like you're blurring it, but maybe I just don't have a good understanding.
I do blur it more than most because, like I said, I worked in physical therapy clinics. So that was actually my base. That was originally what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And ended up making the switch. I got an internship as a strength and conditioning coach, worked over 40 hours a week for free. Got nothing but a T-shirt. Once my internship was done, I never complained. Woke up happy every day to do this unpaid 40 to 50 hour week.
You brought me a T-shirt today, so I hope you don't expect me to work 40 hours for free for you.
It would be nice, but it's not expected.
I don't know that I would be that great either.
So you're reading between the lines to see what I'm doing here.
Yeah. I'm the setup and tear down guy. So
that would be nice.
I know. I got to imagine. That's the only thing about your business when I think about it. I'm like, God, that's got to be a lot of time and effort just to set all that stuff up, tear it all down. Do you have how have you kind of come up with a system? Do you have special equipment that's made to be easily taken apart and moved around?
Exactly. So like I said, I could fit things on an 8x8 space. Squat, rack, bench, dumbbells, kettlebells, everything on just 8 feet by 8 feet. Which when you think about that, that's really not much space.
No, it's not.
So everything is designed to be able to travel. And when I started this business, I knew, and I get this all the time, people say, I can't fit that in my house. What do you have, a big van you have to carry everything in? That's not going to work.
Yeah.
And I have an SUV. So I always point and I go, squat rack, dumbbells, barbells, kettlebells, bands, everything you need is right in that SUV right now. I'm going to bring it into your house.
Yeah.
So,
and you probably only take out what you know ahead of time what the workout is for the clients, so you don't have to take everything out,
exactly.
right? So you don't need a full set every time.
Yeah. So I prep the night before, and I have my equipment ready of what I'm going to need the next day, because not everyone needs a squat rack. And when I first started, I wanted to pull out the bells and whistles, right? So you bring everything, find a way to use it, and now I'm like, not everyone needs a freaking squat rack.
No.
So I plan around what I'm going to need, and if I don't need a squat rack, I'm not going to put it in my freaking car just for the sake of it looks cool.
Yeah. And I think that is what's unique about your business, is that you're actually bringing all of the equipment to people, so people don't even need to have anything at all in their house. They just have to have an 8x8 space for you to set up. What is that? To me seems like a unique selling point. How'd you decide to take that approach?
Ironically, it was The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. So I was watching something, probably on Instagram or whatever.
Doesn't he have a full gym in his house?
So he was on a movie set, and it looked like, at least from the cameras, it looked like he had one of those industrial tents that like companies have when they do like company parties at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Like a whole gala, whatever. But he had a whole freaking gym in there, like all big machines and everything. And I was like, that's really cool. He doesn't have to leave the set for anything now. He has that full gym right there with him.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do that. But how can I match that?
Right.
And when I was at Seton Hall as an intern the first time around, we didn't have a gym at one point because we had a whole new gym built, bigger one, extravagant. We moved everything from the top floor to the bottom floor where that new gym was going to be. And the day that we were supposed to open, the fire department comes and like, one of your alarms doesn't work. We can't do that, and we can't come back till tomorrow. So we didn't have that gym for like 72 hours, and there was no gym. So we were like, all right, empty space, a few dumbbells. How do you make it work? It's, faring me well right now.
Right.
Because it just helped me come up with everything. All right, what's the most compact dumbbell? What's the most compact squat rack? And it just goes on and on from there, even down to the car of, I do want an SUV. I don't want a truck because I don't want to send the message of this is big and bulky.
Oh, okay. Right, interesting.
What's the length of a barbell? So the barbell does go across the center console, but let me buy a pad to put on top of that.
Yeah.
To do so. But yeah, everything's very compact and everything's strategic in how we bring it, because it has to be convenient for the client.
Yeah.
Is the number one goal.
And then back to the details, right? Back to the details.
Even packing the car. I once had a client that he put the bench in my car trying to help, and I was like, man, I appreciate it, what you're trying to do. Like, seriously, I know this is a lot, but I can't fit everything in when you put the bench in like that. And he just laughed. He's like, okay, I don't know the system.
Yeah, exactly. Well, as a quick aside, I mean, I think this is kind of a stereotype, but I definitely like, if we're going somewhere, my wife and my family, like, I'm packing the car because I got a strategy. I got to play Tetris with it. Every bag has a place.
Yep.
Pride myself on the ability to like strategically fit everything in. So I think that's clearly, to me, one of the differentiators between your business and other people's is that you're bringing the equipment to people. What else makes you unique as compared to the other guys?
I think I'm a team of 3. So
Okay.
It's me and 2 trainers under me. And our education and experience, quite honestly, separate us immediately right off the bat. So we all want to know where we stand as far as our competition. So I did a deep dive into Marin and Sonoma County because those are our main territories. And what do the other trainers in the area have?
Mm-hmm.
And I found 66 trainers with bios on themselves, their backgrounds, their education, their experience, where they've been, certifications and all that. You would actually be surprised how many had nothing. It was just, come train with me. We're going to build strength. We're going to lose body fat.
Right.
And that was something like 20-something people had zero information on themselves.
Wow.
But I found 66 that did have information. Of those 66, 26% had a degree in the field. They were working in a bachelor's degree or higher.
Okay.
Which was, 26 people. 4 of those, so 6%, had a master's degree or higher. So our team is all both bachelor's and master's degree in exercise science or something similar. Like my guy Evan has exercise physiology.
Okay.
But it's all in the same field, so all 3 of us are in that top 6% of Marin and Sonoma County. And then we've worked with collegiate and professional athletes. I've worked with everything from diabetics to osteoporosis, cancer survivors. Evan's had people in wheelchairs that he's worked with. JB has lived in China to work with Olympic athletes. And
Wow.
He worked at Purdue University.
So experience makes...
It's our high level, and there has to be a standard of it and a standard of care, because we have referred out when it's been like, this is out of our scope. But we want to be the best in the industry, and all of us are in the top 6% in regards to education of trainers in Marin and Sonoma County. So I think when you pair our education with our experience, and the proof is really in the pudding. We've been in business for, this month marks 2.5 years, and between individual and business awards, there's 6 of them.
Wow.
So I myself have been named one of the top personal trainers in Marin County by the Marin IJ, Marin Independent Journal twice, Marin Magazine once, and then business awards in both Marin and Sonoma County. So one in...
Congratulations, by the way.
Sir. So one in Marin and 2 in Sonoma.
That's awesome. So what do you think then, that you've alluded to it slightly, but what do you think in your industry, like, people tend to get wrong?
It's kind of, if they're a certified personal trainer, that they can do all. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have a degree in the field, it doesn't mean you can't do anything. Sure. And I want to say that up front. I too am a certified personal trainer, but it's kind of a guessing game at that point on the quality that you're going to get. So to be a certified personal trainer, you have a laptop in front of you. We could get that right now. There's no qualifications. There's no requirements.
You don't take it. You have to take a test or something.
Oh, yeah, but you could just take that online right now, and I could help you through it. We'll get through it in 20-30 minutes.
I can be certified.
And
all right.
You'll be a certified personal trainer, but for one of my requirements for my staff.
Once again, I don't work for T-shirts, just to be clear.
One of my requirements was they have to have their CSCS certification, which means that they have a degree with the prerequisites.
What does that stand for?
Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist. And it's kind of the gold standard for training, because you have to submit your transcripts to sit for it. And the same goes, I'm a certified exercise physiologist and sports nutritionist, and for all 3 of those, I had to send my transcripts, otherwise I can't be certified.
Okay.
I have to show proof that I have a degree in the field.
So if you had to sum it up, then it's that trying to be all things to all people, and why does that why does that matter?
See, this is kind of tricky, because some of my best work has been with things that I've never worked with before. Mm-hmm. That I just dig through papers and try to find the research behind what to do and how to help them watch their mechanics. But having someone that can navigate and understand is going to make a big difference than somebody going in blindly. And a lot of it is just having the background information.
Right.
Did you go to school for 4 years, 6 years, depending on whether it's bachelor's or master's, and did you understand the background information and be able to make the connections?
Yeah. Which
is pretty vague and broad, and quite honestly, it sucks as an answer. But if I didn't have, doctors teaching me how to look for certain things, I wouldn't be able to do the things that I'm doing today.
So what you're really saying, so let me try and translate it, and what I'm hearing then is you're not necessarily trying to gatekeep, doing personal fit, being a personal trainer with people, but it's that people maybe tend to overpromise and underdeliver because they don't have the background understanding of what's actually going on. Not necessarily that you need, because I'd also hate to think like, oh, you can only be a personal trainer if you have 6 years of school, right? Because that's not what you're saying.
That's not the truth. No. There's one person, actually, because I'm looking to hire a 4th person, and I'm probably going to break the rule for her. She doesn't have a degree, but I can tell you she applies things better than people I graduated with for my master's.
Right.
She's phenomenal.
Right. So what do you think separates a good personal trainer from a bad personal trainer then? Because it's not necessarily, like you're just saying right here, it's not necessarily that they have a degree or what kind of creates that separation?
It's the work they're willing to put in, to be honest, because I know people who have their degree and don't know jack. But then I have people who don't have a degree, but they are reading every day. Mm-hmm. And they're like, how do I learn this? How do I learn that? And they're doing their research and learning from the right people, of course, and getting internships and things. But it's your ability to see things on the fly and adapt and be able to have a scientific basis for how you change and how you adapted.
Okay.
And a lot of times it's just, I saw this in Men's Health magazine, so
I'm going to do it.
This was Mike Trout's workout, so I'm going to be a better baseball player.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So let's, you're you're dealing with scheduling people a lot. Seems like there's a lot of logistics in your business. You're now managing multiple trainers, including yourself, maybe adding another. So how do you stay organized in your business and kind of stay on top of all that stuff?
It's tough, man. It's tough. Because since I travel, it's not like I'm sitting at my desk and then a client comes in and then I'm back at my desk. I'm always moving around.
Right.
A to-do list is the number one thing to keep me organized. The most basic, simple thing, and on any given day, I have anywhere from 6 to 15 things that I hope to accomplish for the day. Almost never gets done, and I purposely put in more than I know I could do. But it's what are the most prominent tasks at hand that I need to accomplish, and then some get pushed to the next day, and it is what it is. My to-do list is the biggest thing. If I don't have the to-do list, then my mind's churning way too much, and I start doing a million tasks without finishing them.
Right. So it helps you prioritize and focus.
It's the most simple thing.
Are you using any particular app? Is it just a piece of paper, or what are you using to keep track of it?
I just use the Notes app on my iPhone.
Beautiful. Beautiful. What about the scheduling part of it? Are you just doing it like in a Google Calendar, or you have some particular app that you're using for that?
So I use the Wix platform, which has been good. So everyone's schedule is right on there. If there's something I manually need to put in, it goes on their schedule, but then they also have their Google Calendars links. So they can see if I have a call. Granted, I always follow up with them if I added something in manually.
Okay.
But then they could always see what I added in on there.
Oh, interesting. So, I mean, I'm familiar with Wix as like a platform for building websites, but then they also have some additional functionality for scheduling.
Yeah, scheduling and taking payments, which is
why that's cool.
You know, I run a convenient business, so I need a convenient way to schedule things myself, and they were an all-in-one. So I think it is a little more pricey than doing it all separately, but at the same time, the convenience of it makes it easier for me to be able to, in one click, see everyone's schedule on one, or I could see
you gotta
who's where when.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to leverage yourself and make that as frictionless as possible in order to keep it all those balls juggling, because you're probably fielding a fair amount of calls and communication from clients on a regular basis, right? Yeah. So, okay, so let's talk about, I want to kind of close the business section with, like, what's the best part about your job and what's the worst part about your job or your business?
I'm trying to think, who do I want to highlight here? Because it's the difference that you make with people.
Okay.
I'll say one of my clients just got back from her third vacation since we started working together back in August or September. And
wait, she's already had 3 vacations? Oh,
she's retired.
Okay, I was like, I got to change something.
She is just a wonderful client. I look forward to working with her every single time.
That's awesome.
And we started working together because her daughter was like, she was going to go to Italy, which COVID screwed that. But anyway, she was going to go to Italy, and her husband bought her a wheelchair that he could put on his backpack so that she wouldn't be hindered on their vacations. So they could go see whatever, and he will push her.
That's pretty cool.
And maybe 2 months ago, she just got back from her third vacation. They've never used it.
Oh, wow.
So we worked together for 2 months, and then she never needed it. And a couple months ago, her husband, come here, let me show you the wheelchair. And it's just in their shed, folded up. He goes, I've never taken it out.
That's
so
awesome.
I bought that because we thought walking was a thing of the past for her, and I didn't want to wait for her to fall down on vacation. I'll push her.
Yeah.
We'll get to see everything.
All right. That's powerful. I'm about to start tearing up here. That's really
the husband pulling me to the side to say thank you.
Yeah.
That's not the first one, and it's rewarding every time, and it's like I never know how to react.
Yeah.
I just say it's been my pleasure, because I get emotional about it.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, you noticed the work that I'm doing with
that's
her.
Awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so what's the worst part then?
I mean, we've already touched on it. It's the time, man. I'm traveling around every day.
Okay.
And, work and family, you know how that is. You have 2 kids, and it's tough. I have a great supportive wife.
Yeah.
I've talked about my awards, and I can't talk about my awards without saying none of that is possible without my wife. Because when I started from zero and even offered to get a second job just to make ends meet, I remember she gave me this look of disgust when I offered to take a night shift.
Yeah.
So that during the day I could work on the business. She's like, no, just you go do this. So I have a great supportive wife.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But the worst part is, Monday my first session was at 6 a.m. The last session ended at 6:30 p.m. And that was in Napa. The last
that's
flight.
tough.
So I didn't get home till about 7:30 because I have to pack up and
So is that part of the impetus then for getting more people in the business, not just to like grow more, but also maybe to take care of some of the, like have people cover specific geographies?
Exactly. So like Evan right now is the head of Marin. So anyone new that comes in from Marin, he takes, because I'm based in Petaluma. He's based in San Francisco in the Presidio, but it's an easy drive for him, so that I could start narrowing it down, because then I could take more clients in less time, and same for him. You don't have to be driving from Sausalito up to Glen Ellen.
And the advantage for folks coming on and working with you is that you're doing a lot of the marketing and helping bring in probably a lot of clients, so they can just focus on, not that they never have their own clients or bring clients in, but they can just focus on the training part of it, and you can do kind of all the hard back end work of getting people in.
They're high level coaches, and I want to take care of everything so that they can be at their best, because the business will get a lot of recognition if they're at their best.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I think that's a perfect transition, is just like talking about the support from your wife. Like what it sounds like, and the question I like to ask is everyone is like, how are you managing work-life balance? What does that look like for you? It looks like part of it is you're trying to like bring on more people, so you're traveling less. But is there anything else that's important to you to kind of maintain that balance?
I think something too with that is I'm still doing from Sausalito up to Napa. I'm taking clients. It's going to take, I estimate, about 2 years for me to just be in like Sonoma County. Near
like
Petaluma,
an additional 2 years?
For 2 years from today.
Okay.
It will probably take for me to transition and make sure that everyone has the right trainer for them wherever they are. But then for me to be able to stay in Sonoma County.
Okay. So in 2 years, you'll have more balance. That's what you're telling me.
And it's just the truth, because, we always, we know what our end goal is, but there are a lot of steps to get there. So I try to be realistic in my steps and what it's going to take to be there. But I'd say the biggest thing is getting home for dinner. I'd say maybe once every 2 months, I'm not home for dinner, and my wife's amazing. She's very understanding. So like even if I get home at 7:30, she would prefer to wait for me to eat dinner rather than eating by herself, and then I eat by myself. So getting home for dinner at a reasonable time is probably the number one thing, because I do want to give my wife that time. So we eat dinner, maybe watch a show for half hour, and then we go to bed, but at least we've had that dinner and a show time together.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I know that starting a business is really difficult, and it's a conversation I have with my wife, is that, okay, there's probably going to be like a couple of years here where we're going to kind of have to like grind and work hard at it and put more time into it, but that's not the end goal, right? This is temporary, because my experience is like you can't do the 6 to 6 thing forever. No. Right? I think it's fine in short sprints. It's fine when you're younger, but once you start having kids, it gets even more difficult. And then you get married, it gets more difficult. And I don't think it's sustainable for long-term happiness. I mean, granted, I've met people that like their life is their work and they're happy with that, and it works for them. So I'm not going to like completely knock that, but I would say that's probably the exception. I just think it burns people out if your whole life is about work, even if you love your job, because it seems like you love it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's really important, is to make sure you're prioritizing your family, and then having sounds like you have good communication with your spouse or whoever your partner is about like, hey, like this is temporary, this is what I'm doing, and then trying to prioritize like, hey, we're going to have dinner together every single night.
Exactly. And I get asked the question a lot, and I've talked about, and we talked offline about the standards of what like a professional sports strength and conditioning coach needs, and even for college sports, it's the same standards. And it is the coolest job. I got to work with basketball players every day. I got to travel the country with basketball players. I got to go on a private planes to go to and from games.
That's cool.
But I'm working up to 80 hours a week. Don't really have time or days off. I'm missing weddings. My friends are having kids, and I'm not there to, be there at that joyous time, because I'm over in Omaha playing Creighton.
Right.
So there is that kind of life balance, and that's what I seek with this business, is being able to kind of see the writing on the wall with college sports and be like, there's really no time to put in all this time in, but I am now getting paid for the time I put in.
Right.
When you're working for someone else. You don't always get paid for those 60 to 80 hours a week.
Right, that's
but
tough.
In time, it will allow me to have that work-life balance where I can't have kids. You know,
Right.
my dad worked his butt off, but he was always there for my games.
Yeah.
You know, he was always present. So I seek to be there just like my dad was. And I knew in college sports, it probably wasn't going to be the case.
Was that a big part of the motivation for starting this business, was to actually have a little bit more long-term, have more balance and
Absolutely.
more control over your schedule?
That, and kind of like I just reiterated, working 60 to 80 hours a week, I might as well do it for myself.
Yeah, 100%.
So if you have the work ethic, it's pretty much worth it. And, you know, over time, like you said, it's not going to be the same. You got to take a few years building it up to get it steady, and then you can figure things out from there.
That's awesome. So I think that takes us into kind of the bonus question time here. And the question I'm trying to ask everyone is, what are some of the books that you've gifted the most to people?
I'm not much of a book gifter.
Fair enough.
But I do share a lot.
Okay.
So I still have my biomechanics book.
Okay.
From my, I think, junior year at Sacred Heart University.
Okay.
I went back, like, damn near 10 years later and reread that entire textbook.
Wow.
And it helps me so much.
Okay, well, this is by far the nerdiest answer we've had so far on the podcast. Okay.
No, I'll just give two. So number two is, so I don't think I shared. I moved out to San Francisco to join a startup, and that was just more of 60, 80 hours a week. But when I did that, I was like, all right, in college sports, these kids come to me because that's my job. This is your strength and conditioning coach. You go to him for X amount of times per week. Mm-hmm. You go to him when you need this or that. But now, running my own business and then joining a startup where we have to get the clients, I started reading more on just conversation, how to adapt to the person, mm-hmm. and what are some things that make a difference. So both of my logos are blue.
Okay.
And that was because, well, one, I noticed that, like, a lot of the fitness businesses were red. And red is a lot more intense.
It's a very aggressive color, yes.
Blue it's a lot more, one, like, authority was one of the things, but also just calmness is another thing that, you know, a few books said. So I was like, all right, let me do a blue logo. Mm-hmm. So reading books like that have been big, and I've suggested that to other people too, and just like, here's some basic tips that can help you.
Yeah, that's awesome. If you could put something up on a billboard, you know, right on the edge of the freeway, lots of people are going to see it. Like, what's the one thing you'd put on that billboard that you want everyone to know, think about?
Well, I'm still building my business, so it goes right to business.
That's fair.
I'd have both my logos on there and just have all the awards there.
That is totally fair. I'm thinking more like general life advice. Yeah. You know.
And just whatever makes you happy.
Do it.
Work relentlessly to find a way to keep that happiness in your life.
That's great.
So then, there's simple things, and I think when people hear like work relentlessly, that doesn't necessarily mean work 12 hours, 7 days a week. Mm-hmm. But what about your spouse? Did you do something to make her happy?
Yeah.
You know, did you do the dishes and fold the laundry just to make her day a little easier? Things like that, and that is working relentlessly to keep the happiness in your life. Sorry, seasonal allergies, so my eyes are going right now.
All good, yeah.
So it's just understanding what's in front of you to try and keep you happy.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of work to understand what's in front of you to make you happy, because we're so laser focused as entrepreneurs on the task of the job at hand.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think the last question I want to have is unique to you. Is what do you think that's the one thing everyone in their lives could be doing on a daily basis to be healthier? Like one simple thing everyone should be doing, or more fit, or kind of something along that vein.
Honestly, move more. And it doesn't have to be go run 18 miles today. I have a lot of people that I'm like, all I want you to do, and I'll give them 3 to 5 exercises on your lunch break. Take 5 minutes just to do these mobility exercises. Mm-hmm. And not anything that's going to break a sweat, just simple movement, because maybe they have low back pain. Do these couple movements, and then you can go back to work.
Yeah.
But take 5 minutes to do this. And for a lot of people, that goes a long way. Something like a simple walk before they start the workday. If you're answering emails and you can do it from your phone,
Yeah.
Take a walk for that half hour.
That's great. That's a great thought, actually. Yeah, answer emails and walk at the same time to take a little break. That's great.
I do know a chiropractor. Shout out to Dr. Robert Adamich of Adamich Chiropractic. He suggests you have your phone up while you're doing it because he goes, do you know how many people I get because they are here on their phones and on their laptops all day? So he goes, I get a lot of eyes on me when I'm walking like this, and it gives him a chance to say what he's doing and pitch himself.
There you go. Always be selling. Well, Kyle, it has been awesome having you on the podcast. It was great learning about kind of the industry and what you do. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.